Chapter 21. Halloween arrived and it was an incredibly busy day. I had to go to basketball practice and Chinese school, and on top of that, I still had to get my costume ready. I was going as an order of French fries. I had taped together some sheets of red poster board for the box, but I still had to cut up some foam rubber for the fries. If you don't have a good costume when you're an older kid, you usually don't get much candy, and the adults give you dirty looks. You have to show that you're in the spirit of things. 15 minutes before I was supposed to be at Madison's house, I finally lugged all my stuff downstairs to the front door. Even though Madison didn't live far away, Mom was going to give me a ride since we had to bring the dumplings. I ran over to the freezer to get the dumplings. Mom and Yipo had made them a few days ago and frozen them in plastic bags. In the freezer there was one big bag of dumplings. "Mom!" I yelled. "Where are the rest of the dumplings?" "They're all together," Mom yelled back. "They're all in the freezer together." I looked again. 2 cartons of ice cream, a bag of peas, mystery roast, pizza, 4 cans of frozen orange juice, 1 bag of dumplings. "I think we're going to go hungry if these are all the dumplings," I told Mom as she came into the kitchen. Mom looked through the freezer herself, digging all the way back to the back like an Arctic explorer. No more dumplings. She pulled her head out of the freezer and shouted, "Kenny!" Apparently Kenny had been helping himself to a nightly snack of dumplings when everyone else had been asleep. In his usual state of cluelessness, it never quite occurred to him that the dumplings had been for the party. "What are we going to do?" I asked. "Order pizza?" I tried to sound disappointed, but truthfully, I was relieved. I liked dumplings, and Madison liked the dumplings, but that didn't mean anyone else would like the dumplings. Mom scratched her arm. "Well, that does seem to be the..." But before she could finish her sentence, Yipo butted in. "We can do it," she said to Mom. She said some other things, but the only part I understood was, "Let's go to the store now." I held my breath, waiting for Mom to respond with something like, No, it's too much trouble." But that's not what she said. "Yipo says we cannot disappoint you or Madison. We'll drop you off at Madison's house on the way to the store," said Mom briskly. "Start loading the car." I chewed on my lip. I knew she was trying to be nice, but Yipo was messing up my party again. I got to Madison's house 10 minutes before the party started. Talent was already there. Hi, Talent," I said slowly. "Aren't you a little early?" Talent had no clue that coming early to a party was not exactly the best idea in the world. I made my mom bring me here straight from the mall, where I bought jeans. Look! This was probably the closest that Talent had ever come to looking like a normal person. She even had a t-shirt on. It had a picture of 2 cartoon kittens dancing under a rainbow. "How long has she been here?" I asked Madison under my breath. 15 minutes, Madison whispered back. "But she's been really helpful." I told her the news. Kenny ate most of the dumplings that Mom and Yipo made, but they're going to the store so they can make more. Then I paused. "Do you think we should order pizza, just in case?" "Nah," said Madison. "Look, we've got tons of chips and stuff if people are hungry." Then she whipped out a present. "Happy birthday, by the way." It was a big deal, though. The whole party was becoming a mess wrapped in a disaster covered in a mistake. Yipo and Mom were here. Talent was hanging out by herself, looking awkward and out of place. Now that she didn't have Madison and me to herself, my present was my best friend. My best friend had been a bust. And we were having dumplings. Mrs. Jameson cleared off the kitchen table. Mom and Yipo laid out the supplies: garlic, ginger, sesame oil, soy sauce. cider vinegar, Chinese chives, ground pork, and dumpling wrappers. Packages and packages of dumpling wrappers. More girls arrived, and someone started playing music. I stood in the doorway to the kitchen, hoping to block their view. Yipo looked like a TV chef on Fast Forward. She swiftly mixed together the pork with the seasonings. Mom cut open the first package of dumpling wrappers and set out a small bowl of water on the table. Mrs. Jameson began filling up the pots of water and setting them down on the stove. I looked at the clock. It was already 5:15. By the time they're done, we'll have to rush to go trick-or-treating, I thought. We should have ordered pizza. What's going on? Serena poked her head in. What's for dinner? We're supposed to have dumplings, but there's been a small prob. Before I could finish, Serena pushed her way past me into the kitchen. You guys are making dumplings? Wow! She exclaimed. She picked up a dumpling wrapper. Can I make one? Yipo stopped and showed her what to do. She laid the wrapper in the palm of Serena's hand and added a dollop of pork filling in it. Then she dabbed her finger in the water and wet the half of the center outer edge, and then closed the wrapper with a row of little pleats. Yipo held out her palm. One perfect dumpling, I thought, and only about 300 to go. Hi. And what's Serena going to say? Is anyone else going to come in? Before I knew it, more girls were crowded in the kitchen door. They stared at Yipo. Hey, you guys, you don't have to come in here. It's just dumplings, and we're going to order pizza, I said. I wanted to kick myself. Having dumplings was the worst idea in the history of birthday parties. But Serena had a different idea. Hey, get in here. This is so cool. Did she say cool? Haley went into class president mode, all manners and meet and greet. Hi, Mrs. Wu, she said to my mom. Lucy, I know your mom, but I've never met your... Oh, I fumbled for a second. This is my grandmother's sister, my great-aunt Yipo. I tensed for a second, waiting. Haley and Yipo each raised a hand and said hi. Even when Yipo says hi, it sounds Chinese to me. Then Haley said, How do you do that? How can you do that so fast? That's amazing, said Lauren. I want to do that. Talent slid into the kitchen. I can help, she said. I've done this before. Mom, Yipo, and Talent each helped one girl with her dumpling. Before I knew it, there were a dozen dumplings, the slightest misshapen ones joining the trim, pleated ones. Madison brought in a few more chairs to crowd around the table. I think the party's in here, she said cheerfully. More dumplings began to fill the tray in the middle of the table. I took a seat and looked around. Bethany and Kelly were cracking up at Lauren's dumplings, which looked more like a turtle. Haley and Madison got into a serious discussion about whether you should hold the dumpling in your right or left hand. Talent reminded everyone not to get meat on the edge, or even grease would make it hard to seal the wrapper. Everyone was having a great time. She's the queen, said Serena, nodding at Yipo. She's the queen of dumplings. I double-checked her words to make sure Serena wasn't making fun of Yipo. But she really seemed to mean it. And judging from the heads nodding around the table, everyone seemed to agree. Mom and Talent were good, but Yipo seemed to have an extra trick for making quick, neat folds. She made 2 in the time most people barely made 1. Mom leaned over and translated for Yipo. Yipo laughed and said nothing in reply. I leaned forward to see if I could catch any words that I knew. Mom said, Lucy's aunt says that she's actually quite slow. There are many people who are faster than she is, and her arthritis has slowed her down quite a bit too. No way, exclaimed Serena. That's impossible. Yipo looked up and grinned at Serena while making the dumplings, and at that moment I realized the party wasn't going to be a disaster. Maybe it'd even be good or great. With everyone helping, we were actually making all the dumplings in no time. Maybe that's how dumplings were supposed to be made. Everyone sitting round, making them together, while laughing and talking. Then came the actual eating of the dumplings. I think all that work made everyone hungrier, and even Talent said they were the best dumplings she had ever had. Mom and Yipo set out little bowls of soy sauce, vinegar, and hot sauce so everyone could try the different sauces. We ate so much that when we were trick-or-treating, everyone groaned and complained about how full they were. I swear, even my French fry costume felt tight. I am not eating any candy tonight, moaned Haley. I will absolutely explode if I eat one more thing. Madison took one bite of the Three Musketeers, her favorite, and then she threw the rest in her bag. We're going to be waddling to Bancroft Oaks, she joked. At the end of the night, Madison and I agreed that it was the best party we'd ever had so far. And the funniest part was, without a doubt, it wouldn't have happened without Yipo. Which made what happened the next day that much worse. After we'd had an enormous brunch with scrambled eggs and French toast, Mrs. Jameson gave me a ride home. I was looking through my Halloween loot. We had gotten full-size candy bars in Bancroft Oaks when I heard her say, "Oh dear, what on earth happened here?" I looked up and my stomach jumped. The tree in my front yard had been teepeed. The entire tree that was completely covered in toilet paper. So thick in some places you couldn't tell there was a tree underneath. When the wind blew, the loops of toilet paper swayed in unison. Dad and Kenny were already outside, cleaning up. Kenny was holding a trash bag open, and Dad pulling down the toilet paper with a rake. Our neighbor, Mr. Elliot, was also outside talking to Dad. "It's such a waste," I heard him say to Dad when I got out of the car. "There must be 20 rolls of toilet paper up here." "At least," agreed Dad, pulling down another rake full of toilet paper. "And this is after my aunt scared them off. Who knows what else they would have done?" "Ah, well, Halloween tradition, I guess," said Mr. Ellicott. That's it, I thought. It's just some stupid random Halloween prank. "Hey, Lucy," said Dad when he saw me. "Put your stuff in the house and come outside and help clean up." I thanked Mrs. Jameson for driving me home and got out of the car, and then I saw what else had to be done. My basketball hoop was destroyed. Sodden toilet paper balls had been smacked onto the backboard, marking it so that it looked like a weird case of chicken pox. And the hoop had been pulled on until it was a sad mouth hanging down from the backboard. "Hurry up, Lucy," called Dad. "This is going to take all morning." I swallowed hard, trying to ignore the sick feeling rising up from my stomach. It has to be Sloane. She knows where I live. The sentence started playing itself over and over in my head, changing the emphasis from word to word. She knows where I live. She knows where I live. She knows where I live. If it was as if this terrible fact would change if I could just find a different way to say the sentence, but it only seemed to get worse each time. Through the window I saw Yipo come into the living room. As soon as she saw me, she stopped and stared at me, and then turned her head slightly to look at the hoop. I wondered what she had seen, if the people she had seen were boys or girls, my age or older. I wonder if she had questions she wanted to ask me, the way I had questions for her. When I walked into the house to drop off my bags and presents, Yipo pointed to the front yard and said something. Then she raised the pitch of her voice and began talking more quickly, making it harder for me to understand. She raised one hand over the other and then lowered her hand. The words flew over my head. Mom walked in and looked at Yipo. Then she said, "Yipo says that she saw 3 girls last night. One very tall one. She says you might know the other girls. Yipo had seen Gabby and Ariana, of course, and tall was definitely the operative word when it came to Sloane. I tried to keep my face expressionless, but inside I felt a crack. The carefully constructed wall I had kept between Sloane and the rest of my life was turning to glass, and Yipo was holding a hammer. No, I said firmly. I shook my head. I have no idea who would do this. I definitely did not want my parents to get involved. If they found out, they would make a huge deal over it. And in the end, Sloane would just have twice as many reasons to make my life miserable. Lucy, if you know who did this, your father and I want to know. This is vandalism, said Mom. They have damaged our property. I looked at Yipo. She looked puzzled. I could almost hear her thoughts. You know who these people are. Why aren't you saying anything? Would you please tell Yipo? I hesitated. I almost said I don't know who she's talking about, but I changed it slightly. None of my friends would do this. That was true, but really, the more accurate statement would be, my not friends did this. Mom translated for me. When she was finished, Yipo turned to me, her eyes narrowed slightly, not angry, but firm, resolved. Zi Dao Le, she said. I already know.